Complimentary, no cost.
Let me, if you just happen to turn in, let me reintroduce my guest. I'm talking to Fred Snyder. And we're talking in my living room where I have lived in for 39 years, 10 months and 3 weeks at this particular point. Is that getting that close? And I've moved these Chesterfield and chairs in that day that I bought for $35 at Maynard's auction. That's what I paid for these two chairs in the Chesterfield.
So these have been around for a while too.
Oh, they've been around for a while too. I've actually had them for 45 years because I bought them when I lived in a penthouse at 750 Jervis Street.
So this is called having fun with your money?
Well, yeah, I sort of like them. They're sort of fun.
Yeah.
And Richard and I have been talking. Actually, the fellow who shared the next place to me at 750 was Paul DeYoung, who was Kelly DeYoung sound, and it's amazing how we go around and around in circles in this kind of thing. So let's go back to the fact that the basis of any money that I have is being this house, because as you know, I made $15 million, lost $15 million, ended up in a $5 million bankruptcy. So why would anybody take investment advice from me? But it doesn't matter how smart you are, circumstances out there, particularly as we found out in this last year.
That's called risk, David. It's called risk.
Yeah, well, what's the single most thing that wrecks most people's finances?
Marriage.
You got it. It's divorce and stuff, right?
Well, odds are 50-50.
Yeah.
I talked to a bunch of financial advisors on a golf course, southern United States, a few years back, and one of the guys said, "How do you advise your clients in a nutshell?
Yeah.
What do you tell them?" He said, "One wife, one house."
One car.
Well, I don't know about one car, but
well,
he didn't say that. But he said one wife, one house.
If you still have that 48 Chevy or the 55 Plymouth,
yeah.
Right, remember, I'm driving a 53 Chevy outside.
I could have rebuilt that Chevy 10,000 million times for all the money that I spent on cars over the years.
Well, that's correct.
I could still be driving that car today.
I know, and if you did, you'd have a $20,000 car.
Yeah,
because in good shape, that's what you could get for the darn thing. There's a fellow with a 55 Dodge Mayfair in town in North Vancouver.
So you can make a case out of that.
Yeah.
So
one house, one wife, one car.
Chance 50-50 you're going to be divorced. Like your joke is, how many people in this room are married or in an otherwise committed relationship? Put your hand up.
Man, everybody puts their hand up.
How many could have
done better? And it's really funny. It's hard.
It's a good joke.
People don't keep their hands up very long. Well, the point I'm trying to get at, though, is that since we're doing these seminars, and you stole that, my joke last week, since we're doing these seminars in a point of for finances, and maybe you can do better with your finances, and maybe you can rearrange your affairs to do better, doesn't it make sense that if they could have done better in their marriage or everything that they do, we can do better, perhaps?
Oh, you can always do better.
Always do better.
Always do better.
Okay, so when you do a financial consultation for somebody, because that's what you do, you talk about the 3 Ps, planning, plan, and product. Most people, when they go and they say, well, I talked to a counselor or an advisor, and he sold me this. And I say, so what did he say about your will? Well, he didn't say anything about your will. And what did he say about the mortgage on your house? Well, he didn't say anything about the mortgage on the house. And what about your life insurance? Well, that subject never came up. And, well, did he discuss income splitting? No, what's that?
Or clawbacks on old age pension plan.
And is it fair to say...
Guaranteed income supplement and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 99... I mean, I'm going to ask you personally, because I don't know anybody else that does what you do in town.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody else that does what you do in town?
Want the truth?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So, I'm not... If you don't know, I mean, I know other people.
There might be somebody, but I don't know them.
Well, I know other people that do...
There might be somebody that knows more about income tax than you, but I don't know them.
Yeah, well, I know lots of people know more about income tax than I do about specific parts.
Yeah.
And I call them. I mean, I've got on my website, I've got 7 other guys that, there's Steve Peters in Halifax, and Len Vandenberg in Kelowna, and Gary Govan in Dallas, Texas. And these guys...
They're specialists, real specialists. They focus on a very narrow area.
Well, nobody knows as much about income tax and immigration as I do in terms of making the income tax match your immigration situation and vice versa. Because what happens is, even from people that I know that know more about a specific part of income tax that I do, I will see their stuff come in sometimes wrong for what the guy is trying to do in terms of his immigration.
Sure.
That thing. So, and you will see the same thing. If people are, they might be better off getting 1% less on their money and avoiding clawbacks of their old age pension.
No
So
question.
tell me, what happens with something like Helios or Income Plus? The gentleman that just phoned mentioned Income Plus Manulife one.
Very popular product.
Okay. Who should buy it?
People who are at or near retirement.
You mean a 33-year-old shouldn't buy it?
Well, probably not, because that product is designed for income. That product is designed for people that want to start drawing income in the not-too-distant future or currently. So when people invest money, you have to say, is your investment objective growth or income?
Yes.
And a lot of people say, well, it's income. Well, then you have to...
I need money to buy
you have to
groceries.
recommend an income product. So the first thing that I do with people, I don't even ask them the question. I figure out whether they need income or not. I say, okay, how much money do you spend on rent or your mortgage payment? How much do you spend on insurance on your belongings? How much do you spend traveling? How much do you spend on groceries? How much do you spend on your vacation? How much do you give to charity? What do you spend on Christmas presents and birthday presents? And by the time I go through that whole list, that may add up to $3,000 or $4,000 a month. That's generally what it is, not all the time, but most of the time. So this person needs $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Then I calculate their income, and quite often their income will come in at $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
And they got a deficit. I don't have to ask them if they need income. They need income.
So you know that they've got to take income first before they worry about growth.
That's correct. Exactly. And on the other hand, I talked to a client today. They had a surplus of about $1,000 a month left over. Well, they don't need income. They need growth.
They
what
need
I do, the extra $1,000. And again, you talk about what they need, and then you talk about what they want. Sometimes they want something, but that's not what they need. So can be a conflict there. So you try to resolve that conflict. Big difference between what you need and what you want.
Okay, and there's another factor here, and that's that sometimes people will want to buy something that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
How do you deal? I mean, I've always bought things that were inappropriate. How do you deal with that?
It starts with cash flow, David. Again, if I got $50,000 a month left over, maybe I should be driving a Maserati or something, okay?
Well, I got one right there.
Fancy sports. Yeah, that's an old one.
That's an old one. That's
Yeah.
all right. I've still got one.
The fact of the matter is, the whole business of financial planning starts with cash flow, for crying out loud.
No, did you remember I had a sports Maserati sitting out there?
Yes.
Okay, you did. Yeah. You just brought that up. Okay.
But the fact is, it starts with cash flow.
You got to have enough cash coming in.
If you have a deficit every month, you're heading for disaster.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you want to do better? Every financial advisor should start with this question. Tell me about how you spend your money.
And if they don't do that, if they're not that nosy, you shouldn't deal with them.
That's right. How are you spending your money? Well, gee, I spend this and that and so on and so on. At the end of the month, I need $6,000 to live. All right? How do you pay? Where do you find the $6,000? Where does it come from? Well, I got $10,000. I had a client just the other day. Between the wife and the husband, they had over $20,000 in interest income every year. Now, what's wrong with that scenario, David?
Well, it's not tax efficient. That's one thing.
Anything but tax efficient.
It's nothing but growth. It's not a growth item.
No.
And it depends on what they're doing with the $20,000.
Right.
If they're absolutely spending it, then maybe...
Faced with clawbacks. So basically, again, where does your money come from? Where do you get the $6,000? Well, my job pays me $100,000 a year. I got a basement suite that I rent out. I get some dividends from my mutual funds. My wife has a part-time job. I don't know. You find out line by line where's your income come from, and hopefully, at the end of the day, after you pay your taxes, you got at least $6,000 left over, or you're going broke slowly.